This video will cover some of the most helpful tools and resources that you have access to on Lexis Plus with regard to banking and finance. Today we'll cover how to utilize practical guidance to draft documents for your practice and to know how to effectively research banking and finance cases, statutes, and regulations to stand out while practicing in this area of law. My name is Kyle Turner, and I'm an attorney located here in Nashville, Tennessee. I've been licensed to practice since 2015 and have been with LexisNexis for almost 3 years now. In my role as a research attorney, I get to work with law schools and law firms. Many of the law firms I work with specialize in banking and finance. So before we get into our tools and practice tips, I just wanted to briefly go over what is an attorney's main responsibilities in the banking and finance world. So many large firms typically represent banks in operations and lending activities. Finance attorneys at large law firms may also represent borrower companies in those financings. Finance practice at most large firms is a steady stream of lending work with some variation based on the, quote, tightness of the credit market and the overall health of the economy. We might see finance work slow down when the economy is in a recession. Banking, regulatory, compliance work, all of that has been steadily growing at firms with the evolution and introduction of pieces of federal legislation such as the Dodd-Frank Act, which really implemented further regulations and tightened the banking industry's ability to lend at will. Consumer finance has been a big focus of that compliance work, and along with regulations that have really aimed to ensure the operational soundness of banks and what we like to call, quote, the stress test. Those are just some really high-level ideas of what an attorney who specializes in banking and finance might deal with at a large law firm. From our main research page, you can see there are a few options we have with regard to finding resources for banking or finance. We can always do a comprehensive search in our main search bar, or we can come down here and search directly within our practice area, for instance, banking law. After clicking banking law, I'm given the ability to conduct a search, and it'll only search over these categories. So I can look at banking law cases, statutes and legislation. Something I think is particularly helpful are secondary materials. And as you'll see, we'll highlight some of the most commonly used and helpful treatises, guides, and jurisprudence that we have available. If you're new to an area of law, always come check out the practice areas page to see which secondary materials we have available to really get you up to speed for that area of law. And as I scroll down, you can see some of the other areas in which you can search, all with a focus on banking law. I do want to go back. What I just showed you is one way to search within the content for a practice area, but now I want to highlight our practice centers. So I'm going to scroll down here and click View Our Practice Centers. And as you might remember, you have the one that is just for law school. So this is going to be law school class specific. But if you scroll down, we also have practice centers for attorneys practicing in a particular area. So for us, I would want to click on Banking and Financial Services. Now I'm given the most helpful resources we have that pertain to banking and financial services. This is really a one-stop shop for getting information quickly and staying up to date for whichever area of law that you're currently working within. If I scroll down, I can see our top sources. So what we're going to have here are some secondary sources. Those include Matthew Bender, Shushanov, and then those applicable statutes and regulations. By clicking through each one, I can see which ones are enacted and really get taken quickly to the United States Code with regard to banking laws. Here's our Dodd-Frank Act that I mentioned a moment ago, as well as the Code of Federal Register, banking regulations, so on and so forth. Really a quick and easy way to get those statutes and regulations that you're going to be working with most frequently. And that's the same thing for agency materials as well as secondary sources. For instance, we could pick a category under our secondary source. We could really drill down and we could get the information we need, whether it comes from Bender, Pratt, or any other secondary source that we have access to on Lexis Plus. We'll love our new virtual currency area, which we're going to keep adding to as time goes on. We also have our key topics. So this is something that I think is really helpful. You wanted to get all that information about one topic with just a few clicks. For instance, the Fair Debt Collection topic. I can get documents, create a topic, view the topic summary report, or view this in the topic index. I love these topic summary reports. Always remember, if you ever see this orange sticky note when you're in a case, that's going to be a direct link to our topic summary reports. And from those summaries, we can get information such as the definition, the seminal cases, as well as the elements, statutes, secondary sources, and more. It's a really great way to just get up to speed about a particular topic or particular issue that your boss might ask you to do some research on. Going back to our practice area page, I just want to highlight some of the other remaining items that we all have contained within this one area dedicated to banking and finance. So if I scroll down, I can see our legal news, and this is going to be a rotating hub of various legal news stories with a focus on banking and finance. These particular ones are from Mealy's. We can also have the National Law Journal. I'm also taken to Law 360 over here, which gives us direct links to articles that we might find helpful. And then we're going to have a few other items for our practice area. Just keep in mind, each of these practice areas are going to look a little different depending on which practice area you've selected. However, they are going to be a central hub to really provide you with information that's helpful when you're doing work as a new associate and beyond. Okay. Now, going back to our main homepage, I want to direct our attention to practical guidance, which is really helpful for the areas of finance and banking. So, practical guidance has a dedicated section for finance, which provides users with a, quote, how-to guidance to efficiently negotiate, draft, and finalize documents for financing transactions, which include syndicated loans, asset-based lending, acquisition finance, and project finance, as well as some guidance on bank regulatory developments, which really do affect the finance industry and those transactions that you might be a part of as an associate in this area. So I know that was a lot, but just know that practical guidance has everything you're going to need to really get up to speed, even if you're not familiar with any of the terms that I just threw out. So let's dive in and see what practical guidance has to offer. Just click the icon here to the left on your experience doc. And just like we saw a moment ago for the Lexis Plus homepage, there's also a homepage for practical guidance. They're asking us, what task would you like to accomplish today? Really getting our mind in that idea that we're going to do something, we're going to produce something. So for us, we might want to see, what does practical guidance have to offer for a refinancing amendment? I typed it in, clicked search, and here we are. We have 711 results, all within practical guidance. First thing I'm greeted with are what we call Lexis answers. As you'll notice, these appear both in practical guidance and in Lexis Plus, and they really do provide an answer to any of the questions you're looking for. Here, I didn't really type a question, but I'm still getting an explanation as to what is a refinancing amendment, and this is really helpful if I want to get up to speed quickly for various questions that I might have. However, I'm going to scroll down here to the bottom and see what our results are. As you can see, we're getting some practice notes, we're getting clauses, and other helpful information that we can use to really understand what we're doing and get some information to work with. For our example, let's go ahead and click on this practice note for market trends refinancing amendment provisions. From this practice note, I'm able to see exactly what a refinancing amendment is, what they do, how they operate. And if I keep scrolling down, I can see hyperlinks embedded throughout. That's going to take me to other information that's going to be helpful and really provide me with what I need to effectively complete whatever task that I'm being asked to do. Going a bit further down, I can see our related content as well as some examples of publicly filed deals. These examples are really helpful because they're actual work product that's out there, they're publicly available, and they show me how credit agreements have contained examples of refinancing provisions. This is all information that I'd want to use when structuring and creating something of my own by way of a refinancing amendment. If I go back to our search results, I can also see some optional clauses that are non-jurisdictional, and just realize you can select which jurisdiction you want, but non-jurisdictional is our way of saying, hey, these can apply in many different settings and they have general applicability. So I went ahead and clicked on our refinancing amendment clauses, and this is where I really think practical guidance shines in helping you create something, draft something, and you're not going to have to sit there and recreate the wheel and start from zero, but instead have some language that you can work with and you can make into your own and fit your particular need or whichever client you're working with. Our summary is going to tell us what this actual clause will do. We can always expand our drafting notes, and these are really going to say, hey, this is in here, this is an option to add, and here is why we have that. And those are going to be explained to you in your drafting note. Always keep in mind you can open this document in Microsoft Word, so it's a document you can actually work with and work within. We also have our related content for any document you click on that's really going to be similar to a table of contents where it's saying, hey, you access this, but do keep in mind we have some other items that might be helpful that also relate to the current document you're looking at. One of those in particular is our refinancing resource kit. If you ever see a resource kit, do take a look at it. It really is going to be the central location for everything we have on a particular topic. We call it our little kit because we're going to have multiple things throughout to really take you from start to finish for whichever task you're working with. These kits are going to have additional practice notes as well as forms, clauses, and even checklists contained within. So you really know what you're doing and you have a holistic view of the assignment that you've been given. I hear from attorneys all of the time who speak so highly about the practical guidance resources we have. It really is a way to make sure you're providing information to your clients that's actually been vetted, that's been looked at, and that's been curated by practicing attorneys and experts in that area. So that's just one example of something you can look up. Do know you can look up a myriad of things on practical guidance and be provided with actual resources that are going to help you produce something. Going back to our main page, I just want to point out a few more things on practical guidance, one of which is our practice area tabs. So similar to what we saw on Lexis Plus, we also have a finance tab. By clicking in one of the practice area centers, we can actually bypass the search and see which suggested topics and tasks are even out there for that individual industry. We're going to see links to things such as trends and insights, credit agreements, and then have easy access to all of the tools and resources that really speak to this individual practice area. Those include market standards, market trends, as well as evolving guidance, which really does help you stay on top of any changing laws or regulations for a particular area of law. And then just as we talked about a moment ago, we have our resource kits here, and you can always view all and really browse around and see what information we have available to help you be successful. And last but not least, I wanted to highlight Lexis Answers once again. So I'm back here on my homepage, and I simply want to ask a question and get a quick answer through a judicial decision. So let me show you what I mean. I've typed in, does the Dodd-Frank Act protect whistleblowers? I'm going to click search, and the first thing I'm greeted with are the Lexis Answers. I can quickly see there's a few cases here that really spell out and talk about the Dodd-Frank Act with regard to my question. I really think this is a helpful tool. It's an easy way to get a quick answer. You could even type in, what is the Dodd-Frank Act? If there's a judicial opinion out there, i.e. there's a judge who has explained this, you will see her opinion through Lexis Answers and not only have a case that's citable, but get an answer to the question you might pose to the system. It's a quick tip that applies to any area of law that you're doing research for, so don't forget about it. All right, well, that brings us to the end of today's banking and finance presentation. I really appreciate your time. And if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to reach out to your account executive at your school. We're here to help, and we'll answer all of your questions. Have a great day. Bye-bye.